Michael, Abdul, back today talking about struggles of aiming for best in class web support, right? So, our goal, obviously, probably like every company out there, is to become the best in their industry and to do it, at a high level so that people keep coming back, right? That's kind of what you're hoping for. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about those struggles and kind of what we've seen with other people and what we've seen in even our own company. So, I think first we need to talk a little bit about like what is, we'll say it like this: what is web support. So I know you had like five different versions of web support, like of what you think like web care support or web. Go ahead, web.
It can be web hosting, web maintenance, web services, web development. Like why we just call it web dot 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 or web dash is because you know any type of services that involve a website or any web sort of a presence have some very different struggles, right? Where you have to kind of work with different developers, you have to work with different teams, many times different companies doing different things with different goals. So as a web host especially, you kind of stuck in the middle, right? Because you have a developer who wants to do something, you have a company who wants to do something,
Mm-hmm.
then that company might have an agency or a few agencies that want to do different things. So as a web
Yep.
host, so for us, that's like a web host struggle. But I think why we made it generic is because most of these things apply to if you're a developer offering web care plans, web maintenance plans, which we're seeing a lot of developers do these days, a lot of agencies do these days. Kind of the struggles are very similar. And like especially when you want to become best in class, right? And why do I say best in class is because kind of for us, Earth class is, and fortunately, like not a good thing to say, but uh, the standard right now in the the bar right now isn't very high as we've experienced, and I think we've talked about this before as well.
Well, I
Around
don't
the
know. I think the bar has changed in the last 2 or 3 years. I just
yes,
think there's this stigma now because the bar's been so low. It's
yeah,
almost like your internet company.
yeah,
No, somebody could be providing an amazing service
yeah,
but everyone's going to be like internet companies suck, right? Because they do. Because in the states, it's Comcast, it's these types of it's CenturyLink. It's those types of people that they just provided bad service and you had to deal with it because that's all you had. And that's all we had when we first started was GoDaddy,
yeah.
right? We had bad GoDaddy support, and guess what? We just had to deal with it. So,
It still is, still is. I'm kind of kind of. I remember a week or so back, and when you slacked me about asking about something, I said I've just come off a 30-minute kind of a GoDaddy situation, so let me kind of recollect my sanity kind of a thing because I'm feeling very dumb right now, so I can't kind of do anything. So I think yeah,
yeah.
and definitely the bar has kind of changed and come. There are several good players in the market like Kinsta and like
Yes.
some like grid paint that we used to use kind of a thing, right? So there are kind of some companies that are there. Some companies have been able to sustain it, some companies haven't been. I was seeing you
There
say
you
that,
go.
so I was
There
like,
you go.
it's coming. So some companies haven't been able to sustain it, and at least the good thing is they acknowledge it now, kind of the thing. So I think I give them a
Well, I
little
think
bit
that
of
is the
thing.
big thing with like grid pain. Like, I think grid pain's dear to your heart because you kind of found them early on, and we moved a lot. We moved with them quickly, and then I think probably 3 or 4 months ago they decided to implement a different support system, which
Yeah.
we're
Now they
like,
know.
up, here we
Now, yeah.
go.
Now they know. The
Yep.
good thing, at least they acknowledge it. But the thing is that I think that's also one of those scaling problems, and I think that's the struggle. When we talk about the struggles, that is one of the struggles that you have to face
Yes.
when you're
Hmm.
small. Right now, like just if I take my like WP Help as an example, Earth support, like 3 4 months back, I would say was okay. There were some things, because I was mainly the one, so kind of
Oh, you were the guy, so it's
yeah,
still pretty good
yeah.
at
So
that time.
yeah, so we still we don't get complaints, but at that time, kind of because I was doing it myself, everything, all the tickets that used to come in, there were things that I made sure that they're done properly. Now that we have a team, so it's not that the customers are complaining because I kind of look through things. So it's good that I just create the complaints myself with the team that okay, see, this is something you shouldn't have done. Simple, even if the client
Yep.
didn't complain, kind of I jump
Yep.
in, kind
Yep.
of do those things. So because like I think we've discussed before on different videos and maybe a lot of times in person, kind of in honor calls, it's like you know for
I don't
both
know if
of
it's in
us.
person, but yeah.
Right now, this is like it's the way we use Zoom. I think it's kind of in person. It's like we
True,
don't we don't
true.
have scheduled calls, kind of those things. We just use it
Yep.
as a place to kind of be together and work. But I think the thing is that with support, you have to kind of be your strictest QA yourself, right? And that's something that, because the team has to learn, the team has to, because the customers won't understand the team, right? The customers just see the company, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the main struggles, is when you start growing and you can't do everything yourself. You have to start hiring people, you have to start bringing on a team. And I think the team is where most of companies start failing. And I think companies, I would assume companies, big companies like GoDaddy, HostGator, these big companies, these EIG companies especially, have processes there, right? Because without processes, they couldn't handle the millions of customers or whatever they use.
Exactly.
But
Hmm.
the I think the problem is the people, kind of the people they bring on. Like, I think you always kind of like to mention that in GoDaddy, you'd have to talk to four people before kind of you get to the person who understands the platform, even as much as you as a customer understand it, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's a people problem, more like the kind of people they're putting in.
Yeah.
And still there also, I'd just like to know, kind of not make it a GoDaddy bashing video. Sometimes you find good people as well, because the 30-minute chat that I mentioned, that didn't get anything fixed. The next day when I went in, I found a good person who fixed my problem in like 3 minutes, right? Because they understood
Yeah,
what
but
I
I
was
think
trying
I
to
think we
say.
all understand what you're talking about, because even at Liquid Web, right?
Yeah,
I'm still a Liquid Web customer for some of our clients, but I found one guy that I trusted, and I would wait with all my problems until his shift was on. Right? If anybody else had picked up, when's Joseph gonna be in? Oh, okay, I'll call back then. Right? Like I would do that, because the team, and like when you talk about struggles that we face as we scale, team is one of them. Right? Is really trying to
yeah,
identify and get the right people, and have them have the same knowledge. Right?
yeah,
Like, and as things are changing on the platform and everyone having the same information, that's tough, right? And then, like you mentioned with GoDaddy, it's process as well. You got to have solid process so that people will answer the same same questions the same way with a knowledge base or a QA, right? Or an FAQ system, right? And then, talking scope or even educating clients as well, right? So let's, in consistency, just how you're answering all of these in the same fashion, so that,
and yeah. I mean, if you're able to
like,
solve those problems every time, kind of, you have to be consistent, right? The team has to know enough information to be consistent as well, because you can't have the same
yes.
guy doing a good job one day and just kind of not doing a good job the other day.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's tough. I mean, you want people not to be, I just want to talk to Abdul,
Yeah,
right? No, no, no. There's other people here that can fix your problem, other Abdul. And we have to trust that that will happen
yeah,
as we go through it. And, like ICD Soft, they use numbers. So you don't even get to know who they are, right? 98 addressed support 98 or whatever. And then the next day, support 72 responded to your ticket. And who knows if they're just putting whatever number they want. You have no idea, right? So I talked to number 74 yesterday. I want him. He was really good, or her, right? So yeah, those are some of the, as you scale, obviously team, process. Let's talk about scope a little bit,
yeah,
with problems that
yeah.
you see as you scale.
Yeah, I knew you'd pick up scope, because that's like, I think between us, I think that's a place where we might sometimes don't. I think on the other things we agree a lot, kind of in most of the things, but I think scope is somewhere where kind of we have to kind of discuss this. I think especially
Well,
when
I'd say it's a
yeah,
disagreement. Like even
yeah,
this morning, right? Like we disagreed of what I thought should be done in the scope, and you said no, and we had I'd say, I think we actually, well, I think we'll agree to disagree on some things, but I think at the end of the day, we still got to the same point,
yeah,
right? Like things were going to be what I thought they were going to be, just not in the way that I thought they were going to be.
yeah,
That's all. That's the difference, and that's all that changed there. But I think let's talk about scope of how you think as you scale or as you do this
because
stuff,
yeah, I
how
think
that's
scope,
affected.
especially for a company like it's like a hosting company or even a web dev company, who, if you're offering care plans, is that scope becomes very important, because if customers know, okay, these are my web guys and they solve issues for customers, and most of the customers, they don't have a very good understanding of when it's custom code, when it's not custom code,
Yeah.
when it's a deep problem within the way the website was made, or it's a simple a misconfiguration of a plugin, right? They don't know that
Yeah.
difference. For them, they're not seeing their website work as it should. So I think that's where kind of the scope comes in, and also the education of customers, because some companies implement scopes very ruthlessly, and that's where you kind of that's something we don't want to do as well. And that's where you kind of feel, okay, why this company is not doing anything for me? Like when I went to them, they just said talk to your developer. That's the company
Yep.
implementing a scope way too rigidly. And like
Yeah.
customers, okay, there are sometimes some customers you don't like, some customers you like, but there's always has to be, okay, you have to help customers. That shouldn't be like, you should always be helping customers. So that's, I think, in our scope, something that we kind of have is the scope's there. But right now as well, like if if a ticket comes in and catches me at the wrong time, kind of I'm very busy and the scope is there, I'll try to educate the customer, give them a good solution, or give them a good talking point at least to go to the developer and like look at something. But if a ticket comes in, let's say today, when I don't have, I might just go in, I won't say, okay, I'll go in and fix that problem, because it's not like I don't want to do it and like, oh, the scope's there, I'll not do anything. Like those employees
Yeah.
that you get, I think you would have gotten those employees as well. Like you get team members who say, not in my JD. That wasn't in my
Yeah.
JD, right? So I think that's what
Yeah.
it starts feeling like, right? Like, okay, scopes are there to just make a support person's life easier, you know, but they're not there to stop you from helping your customers, right?
Yeah.
They're there that, okay, if you can help them with the problem, at least if you're not, if the scope is very, if they're asking for something really big. And I've all seen that most of the customers do understand it when you tell them, okay, this is something that's out of a scope, but this is what I can do for you. This is like, okay, you should talk to them, you should talk to your developer, this is something that's not
Yeah.
working, this is what I think has to be fixed. And I've seen people are very open to that, unless some people might not be, and like you always have those kinds of customers as well. But I think most of the people do understand the difference between some, once you educate them.
Yeah. And I think that's the next thing is like as you educate them, right? Like you have to educate
Yep.
clients what is inside and what isn't inside. And I think that's where you and I have had long discussions of what's included in type of support or not, right? Where I try to include a lot of things. And you're like, okay, hey, at scale, that's going to be very difficult, right? And to your point, there's some of that right now happening for you, right? Where you're not able to address all those things for every client now because just the volume, right? And some days you are, and some days you're not. So there becomes inconsistency,
Yep.
which then it becomes like confusion from the client, right? So like on the agency side, one of the things we do, and we might implement something not exactly like this, but we call it a $0 change order, right? So, hey, we're going to do it for you. Just so you know, this is out of scope, but we're still going to do it. But you just need to sign this, blah, blah, blah. And then they know that the next time they come, they can't expect it, right? That's kind of how we've approached it, at least on the agency side of things. I think we should talk about how we're going to plan to solve it inside of WP, right? So we've created some steps so that when you don't turn into a GoDaddy, this is becoming a GoDaddy bashing video.
Yeah.
But and like let's start right there. What have we done with the team that's caused or that we plan to help solve some of these issues or actually to approach to get world class, like best in class support for website hosting? It took me a while to get that out,
I think,
but go ahead.
yeah, I think the one of the biggest thing, two of the main things that have happened, not continuing on like things that we've said so far, talk about that, but I think two things that have happened that I think will feel the difference, and our customers will feel the difference for a long time, is that I have been personally involved in support for so long right now with all the clients that we have. So I've completely kind of, in the last 6, 8 months, I've completely understood the mindset of the customers, our customers, right? Okay, how is this support going to work? What things can we do? What things we can't do, right? When new people, that now that we are getting new people in, when they, I know what to
Yes,
expect, right? Because I've
that's
been
actually a
there.
good point.
I've been there. It's not like, okay, we've just made this platform. We don't know exactly what support is, and we are just hiring support people. You personally, I think I see you more involved in support than I've seen other people. So like we both, kind of understand the support very well, kind of how support should be. And like we have a, I have like a kind of a big history of, okay, solving different types of problems. So I know, okay, exactly how long should it take. Okay, if it takes me 1 hour, I don't expect a normal like a dev to
Yeah,
for it to take, but I know, okay, it shouldn't be taking 5 hours, right? It should
yeah,
take maybe 1.5 hours or 2 hours. But what problems we can fix, what problems we have to kind of, those problems that we run into, because sometimes, you start working on a problem to just understand you've kind of gotten yourself into a kind of a mess, and you kind of, once you get into it, it starts becoming an even bigger mess, and then you kind of, you can't pull out of it. So kind of knowing those situations, that kind of with our
Yep.
experience. So I think this is a very big difference that I think our customers will feel as we kind of grow as well, because we understand.
It's the dual difference.
Yeah. I think it's both of us, right? It's not just me, because I see you as involved
No,
as,
no, no. I think you came from the hosting world where support wasn't as deep as it is in the agency world,
yep.
right? Where agencies, I mean, at
I
least
don't
I
I
do.
don't
I
thi-
try to be.
yeah, I don't think it's
So
even that in the agency world, because I've worked with several agencies before as well, and
sure.
I do agree that it's not. I don't think it's just in agencies world. I think it's more of the way you've kind of, made up your kind of, the company and the culture in the company,
Hmm.
that kind of influences that, the kind of excellence in support kind of a thing. Okay, kind of going the extra
Yeah.
mile. So I think that's something that
And
would
I think it gets back to our conversation in our previous video about churn,
yeah.
right? I think that's one way to help prevent churn. That's why I do it that way, and I think that's the only thing I've been like. There's not a lot of things that separate you in business, like, and that's one of them, right? You can have a great product or you can have great service, right? That's like why people buy from Amazon, right? Service is great.
Yeah.
You get your package delivered right to your door. You don't even have to leave. People buy Apple because their product is amazing, right? Or was or still is, right? It's a great product. That's why people buy it. And their customer, it's a cool factor in that one as well. But anyways, let's go to like, so what I think one of the things we're doing to help solve this problem is, to your point, you're hiring a team. You've been in the spot, right? You understand the type of support, where I think you and I still, we're navigating that line of what we think support should be, what is included and what isn't. And then you're training these WordPress engineers,
Yeah.
right, to be frontline people, not just a customer support person that can say, hello, oh, let me check with it. Like, it's a WordPress engineer to answer those things.
Yeah,
So
but it's like kind of, thank you for coming here. Thank you for asking this question. I'll have to forward it to the technical team, right?
yeah,
We never
yeah,
want to, I think we can say this, that we never want to do that, right? Like having that kind of a thing. Okay, there might be a situation where, kind of a problem is so complicated that you need to bring in a, a very senior expert into the equation or something. But I would say 90 or 95% of the issues that come in should be solved with, there's no tiers, we don't want to do any tiers, we don't want to have that, problem of
yeah. And I
looking
think
at
there's
tiers.
some times where somebody has more experience
Yep.
in one area than another. Sometimes they might need to reach out to me, or they might reach out to you more often than not, but they might need to reach out to me for something. So it's kind of just understanding where they need to go. Not everybody's going to have every answer every time. We don't expect that, but it's not going to be like, to your point, hey, what's your name? Okay, let me get you somebody, right? Like, no, these people are supposed to answer those calls right away. So I think that's kind of what we're doing. And also the extensive knowledge base we're going to build,
Yeah.
right? That's the next area that we're going to kind of
Just
do
one
that.
thing
And
on the
then
team, just one thing I'd like to add on the team is that one thing that I've been discussing with the team, and kind of how I see, because WordPress is a big ecosystem. You don't get just a WordPress website. You get a WordPress website which is on Elementor, or you get a WordPress website which is built on Divi, or you get a WordPress website which is using Yoast, or you get a WordPress website using RankMap, or you get a WordPress website using some famous plugin, right? So what I've been talking to the team is that like each one of them should kind of start specializing in those popular plugins. So like we know, okay, when a ticket comes in, if it's on Elementor, we know, okay, who's the kind of the expert in-house that we have on Elementor, or who is the expert we have in-house on Divi. So kind of we're giving more customized support for these, because normally you don't see any website without any some of these plugins in there, and that's where kind of the problems start coming in. And this would also help us kind of help our platform ops guys and our DevOps guys make sure that our platform is very compatible with these plugins as well, because our guys, the WordPress engineers, would be experts in that, would be able to test the platform with these plugins extensively to make sure kind of there's no conflicts in there, kind of. So these are small differences that once you have them there, customers might not see them, but they would definitely feel them when they come to support.
Well, I think that's why, like we talk about, come for the speed, stay for the support, right? Like people are coming because our platform's really fast, but then our solutions are really fast, but then they realize, wow, I can leverage these guys for more than just speed and hosting, right? I can have them help me fix other issues. But okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the other problem, how we're going to help solve this problem of being best in class is our actual design, right? Our platform, our actual simple, I don't know, design, I guess,
I think it's the
is kind of what
simplicity.
it comes down to.
Yeah, we call it the simplicity litmus test, right? I think we started
Yes.
saying that very early on that anything that we do have to go through a simple litmus test. Is it simple enough or is it not? If it's not simple enough, we can, even though it's very good, it can't go in production, right? Because okay, I do understand right now we have the MHP coming in. There'll be a lot of changes
Yep.
that happened before the beta, and there will be a lot of changes that happen after the beta as well as we start getting customer feedback. But the aim is, kind of to keep it simple, to have something where someone who doesn't know, who's not very comfortable with websites, with WordPress, kind of they come in. Because I just say I remember a chat that came in a few weeks ago of someone who had a dog training business, who said, like, I think you were the one who was taking that chat, that I got a website developed from a developer. I didn't know it would involve so much, maintenance and so many things. And like I could feel that person was, not very comfortable with websites, not very comfortable. So I was thinking when I was reading that chat, I was like, this is the customer that I want to make it easy for, that they don't feel
Yeah.
intimidated, kind of when they come into the platform, that, oh, I don't know what to do. Kind of they can go through and
Yes.
they can launch sites, they can manage the sites, update the plugins, scores, have security there. They don't have to think about it. Have speeds there. They don't have to think about it. Kind of having it so simple for them to use. And kind of, that does mean that we take the complexity on, because there is complexity in all of this. So if you don't give it to
Sure.
the customer, you're taking
Yeah.
it on your side, right? You're extracting the whole
Well, they
complexity.
talk about the customer journey, right? When the customer comes to you, they're frustrated, upset, whatever. And then if they're happy afterwards, there is an exchange of value that happens there that's unwritten other than the dollars that they pay you, right? But if you can keep them in that happy state, that's why people stay, right? And that's, I think, what we're trying to do. Where when you call somebody called, starts with a G, ends with a Addy, is it's frustrating. You hate picking up the phone to call that company because it's going to suck 20 minutes of your life before you even get your answer, right? Like that's how it is, and I don't want that for people, right?
Yep.
That's what I don't want.
And I
So,
think just
okay,
to make the point that this is, I think the same litmus test is what we used in the design philosophy as well. Kind of.
yes,
I think we did get the UI done pretty fast, not following the usual steps, because I think we didn't know how it should look like, but we did know how it shouldn't look like. Like we knew that, okay, like we had it in mind. Okay, if it looks complicated, if there's even something we don't understand, we can't kind of go forward. And I think even though I'm biased, but I think it's one of the better looking platforms that we have. But I'm biased, but still, I think the feedback so
yeah. I
far.
mean, I think for beta version,
Yeah,
by far,
yeah.
better than anything that's out there. I think it's to each their own. I think after that, it's got a lot of data on it
Yeah.
and a lot of numbers, and some people don't like that. They
Yep, and
like the
I think
graphics. They
that's
like
the feedback that we'll get, right? And we do have a
yeah,
feature of nerd mode, right? Where you, and I think we might have a version where if you're not on nerd mode, it doesn't show you all those, overwhelming numbers.
yeah.
So
It
I think
shows you
that,
rainbows
yeah,
and unicorns
yeah.
and things like that.
So I think
Yeah,
that's the feedback that we want, right, from early users.
yeah. Anything else you kind of want to address here as we're talking about the best in class support?
I
Um,
think just
what we
one
talk?
thing. I think I just continuing to the first point that I mentioned, like I think with both of us, kind of being very actively involved in support, I think that's the culture that gets built, right? Because I do, now that we have 3 or 4 guys in support, we're adding more. So I don't think I've ever, kind of when I was working on tickets, I've ever kind of, okay, should I do this? Should I not do this? Kind of a thing. But when you have team members, they are like, oh, should I do this? Should we do this for a customer? Those questions start coming up, and I've been very strong on those questions, right? Like I'm not a very kind of a I'm not the aggressive person in this kind of a thing, but I think with these when these questions came up from the team, I was like, no, we have to do this kind of, so oh, we have to go. So I think that's it's not that they didn't want to do it, but I think it was very
No, they don't
important.
know where the line is, like we talked about. Even we're still trying to navigate it. I think those support people or people coming from the hosting world, I think even not even the hosting world, I think most people
Yeah,
don't go as far as I expect them to go, which might be too far, which maybe they need to come back a little bit. But I'm way over here in
yeah,
regards to, like, we just had a client that was upset after a month of SEO. We did a whole bunch of work for him. Didn't matter. Gave him his money back because it's not worth, for me, it's now I can sleep at night. That guy cannot be upset with me now because he got his money back, right? And there's no harm, no foul now, right? And that's, I mean, that's really extreme. There's not a lot of agency owners that do that, but that's how I choose to do business. Now, I don't know if we'll do that all the time in Bionic, but I think people will understand what the platform does and doesn't, and have realistic expectations. And as we get more and more sites on and more developers and more support engineers, we will have a clearer definition of how far they go. But it will
yeah,
be almost always farther than anybody thinks
yeah,
they should go.
yeah.
That's my point.
Yep, and that's
So
and that's the point, kind of I wanted to make with them, like, no, we have to, because I think that's the culture mindset, right? Because for us, like, the
yes,
culture that we're trying to, the support culture, like, from the support culture that we want to build is, yeah, we do go the extra mile, right? We don't kind of, okay, we don't want to kind of, start questioning. Okay, if some, it's a very, kind of a very unreasonable request, let me be the judge, kind of bring it to me, right? Don't be the ones to decide what to say or what not to do it. If you have a question, if you think, okay, this is an unreasonable request, you bring it to me. Let me decide, if it's something that, and let me talk to the customer, okay, if we think that it's unreasonable. But if you're not bringing it to me, the expectation is you're doing it, kind of a thing,
yes,
right?
exactly.
That's the
Yep.
expectation, you're doing it. And I think that's the culture, and that's, I think, it's easy to say right now because we are small, but I think it's so important to us. I think that we will make sure that it remains there as we grow from
Yeah.
900 to 9,000 and beyond.
Nice, like Buzz Lightyear
Yep,
to infinity and beyond.
beyond.
Cool. I think that wraps it up for how we feel about support. Obviously, we're passionate about it. We can talk about it for a long time. I think it's a need in the industry. We were just on a call with somebody this week that was like, wow, if you do that, that will be different than everybody else.
Yep.
And then that's what we plan on trying to do. Please call us out if we're not doing that. That's, write us directly, Michael at bionicwp.com and AQ at WP or bionicwp.com. And that will, you'll reach us directly and we'll address whatever situation you're having.